Your brain is like a supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you programmed your supercomputer not to. It's so important because your brain controls everything. Every single person that's listening and watching this could do that and a lot more.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, we weren't taught. And my goal for everybody who's watching and listening to this is that they're smarter than they think. It's just we weren't taught how to do these things. And when you're in congruence and in alignment, things happen. Your natural superpowers, if you will, come out organically and are not forced. We've discovered more about the human brain in the past 20 years than the previous 2,000 years combined. And what we found is we've grossly underestimated our own potential, our own capabilities. And that's the thing, it's just because we weren't taught. And I really think the nature of the work that you do, that I do, that our community is really backing is about transcending. It's about ending the trance. Wow. Transcend, end the trance, ending this mass hypnosis in media and marketing that's telling us that we're broken, that we need to be fixed, that we're not enough. And I feel like that is what holds us back, you know, this illusion, if you will. Our brain, they say we use such a small potential of it. We use all our brain, but some people use it more efficiently than other people. People don't realize this. There's a learning curve, but there's also a forgetting curve. Science is saying that within 2 days, just 48 hours of listening to a podcast, reading a book, going to a conference, getting a coaching, 80% of it, up to 80% is lost.
Incredible.
And that's, you know, as somebody who's investing time, energy, treasure into something, to lose all that, you know, so you want to be able to hold that on. And so one of the ways of doing it is by taking notes. And we did a whole episode on proper note taking, and really one that's more brain friendly. Most people, and what they found is the worst way of taking notes actually is verbatim.
Which is the way I take notes.
Yeah, verbatim,
I used to.
full transcription. And they study this, you know, at universities because they test people. They have people take word for word. And one of the reasons why is because there's just so much information. Right? You have 18 pages of word for word. You don't even know what's most important. But they found the best way of actually taking notes were more on keywords and relevancy. So for example, one of the ways of taking notes that I recommend is taking a piece of paper and putting a line straight down the page. And on the left side, what I'm doing is I'm capturing information. Capturing. So we could talk about how to remember names and how to read faster and how to learn skills faster, how to change your habits. That would be on the left-hand column. You're capturing information. But on the right side, instead of capturing, you're creating. What does that mean? It means that you're creating and you're building on this. You're putting your impression. So essentially on the left side, you're taking notes, but on the right side, you're making notes. And there's a clear distinction, right, between just capturing information and actually create the creative process.
Why does that matter?
It matters because if you're, first of all, for focus. A lot of people, when they're listening to something, their mind will go somewhere else. They'll get distracted. So here, instead of it going somewhere else, it goes on the right side of the page, which is, let's say, left side, right brain. Left brain, right brain. Left brain's more logical and words and language and linear. But on the right side is your imagination, it's your creativity. So your creativity could go there. The other thing is it forces you to ask questions. I believe that questions are the answer. I think it's the essential for understanding, for critical thinking, for focus, for learning. If you ever want to read something and let's say people feel absent-minded. They forget where they put things. Their wallet, their purse, their keys, or if not their keys, something larger like their car. You see the people in the finding, they forget where they parked their car. They read a page in a book at the end and forget what they just read. They'll get a name from somebody and they'll just forget it right away. One of the ways to insulate that is to ask questions. Right, to ask questions about something. So for example, when I'm taking notes, I'll capture information on the left side, but on the right side, I'll write questions I have about what I'm learning. I'll ask myself questions like how I'm gonna apply it. You know what the biggest challenge I have with the self-help personal development industry is that there's this massive lie that's being spread saying that knowledge is power.
Thinking is the process of asking and answering questions to yourself.
I remember I was doing a training in Silicon Valley, and after I was done, somebody comes up to me, it was Bill Gates, and I asked him, like, if you could have any one superpower, what would it be? He was like, Jim, the ability to read faster. And Warren Buffett was like, I've wasted probably 10 years of my life reading slowly. And that's why reading and speed reading is so important, because people spend about 4 hours processing information a day. You think about all the emails and the business plans and the books and all the stuff you have to process.
Yes.
If you could just double your reading speed and go from 4 hours to 2 hours, you save 2 hours a day. Whoa. What's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? Actually, let's say you just save 1 hour a day. That's 365 hours a year.
Incredible.
That's how many 40-hour work weeks? 9.
9.
2 months
Oh
of
my
productivity,
gosh.
more than 2 months of productivity is saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading. So that's
Faster.
why we do so much, like for people are you watching this, I know a lot of people are entrepreneurs, they have teams. The biggest line item, right, is human capital,
Yes,
right, payroll.
for sure.
But if they're reading 4 or 5 hours a day, that means half of their salary is being paid to read. Right, so if someone's getting paid $80,000, $40,000 just to read. That's why we train at Nike and Google and General Electric and all these individuals, because that's the faster you could raise the collective intelligence of your team, the more that they can be competitive, right?
Yes.
And so going back to this, the M is motivation. So I would always say, if you want to learn something new, check in with your motivation, because here's the thing: all learning is state dependent. All learning is state dependent. This is the thing: information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory. We know that.
Okay.
And we know this because ultimately the expert's not always the person on the podcast or on stage. You are your own expert. So genius leaves clues.
Okay.
Genius leaves clues all the time. So when somebody's exceptional in some area, there's a method behind the magic, including for your own self. Okay. So you don't remember all names, but you certainly don't forget all names. Now go and deconstruct that, decode that. Usually the names you remember are names you're motivated to.
Okay.
You're somebody that is attracted to somebody that could be good for their business, right? So there's emotion there. So emotion tied to information becomes a long-term memory. Because here's the thing, is there like a song or fragrance or food that could take you back to when you were a kid?
Absolutely.
Because information tied with that emotion becomes a long-term memory. But here's the thing, back in school, what was the primary emotion we felt? Boredom, right? Half the room is bored, the other half is confused. But on a scale of 0 to 10, what's boredom? 0. Information times emotion. If the emotion is 0, what's anything times 0?
0.
And you wonder why you forgot the presidents, the capitals, the periodic table, all the things we learned in school, because the emotion level was very weak.
Wow.
Right? That's why entertainment is so powerful. If you just do the easy things in life, you procrastinate, you put things off, right? Then life is hard. But if you do the hard things in life, life becomes easy.
Wow, so good.
And because you're building those muscles. And what I'm suggesting is mental fitness is as important as mental intelligence. The X is exercise.
Okay.
Exercise. And here's the thing: physical exercise, good for your brain.
Okay.
We know this across the board.
Physical exercise, good for the brain.
But so people who are more mentally, who work out, they're more mentally fit, right?
Okay.
They do better on focus, mental acuity, memory tests.
Okay.
They create, when you exercise, you create brain-derived neurotropic factors, which is like B, D, and F, fertilizer for the brain, which promotes neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, new brain cells, new connective. People say, like, when they listen to your show, if they're doing on an elliptical, something rhythmic, or they're going for a walk, they'll retain it better.
Wow.
Right? Which is so powerful just in being creative, going for walks. Like Steve Jobs, all his meetings were walking meetings,
that's right?
Because that's when all the creativity is coming out. So movement, because we live in such a sedentary environment.
Is that what you mean by learning is state-driven too?
Exactly, because movement changes your state. Your physiology affects your psychology. And we live in a culture where sitting is the new smoking. We've all heard this, and we're not moving. The primary reason why you have a brain is to control your movement. People don't realize that. Number one reason you have a brain. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. That if you want to win the day, you got to win that first half an hour, hour of the day, right? But the worst thing you could do, everybody should, has their to-do list. You should have a not to-do list. And the top thing, that's what successful people do. Because that's the thing, as you become more successful, there's this opportunity stress, right? You get more and more invitations to do more and more things. So you have to say no to good so you can say yes to great. And what helps is having a not to-do list. And on top of the not to-do list, I would suggest don't touch your phone the first half an hour or an hour of the day, and the last half an hour and the hour of the day. Why? Because when you wake up first thing in the morning from a brain reason, you're in this alpha theta state. You're extremely suggestible. That's when you're most creative, right? And you're incredibly suggestible. And if you pick up your phone, you're rewiring your brain for a number of things. Number one, you're training it for distraction. Every dopamine, like every like, share, comment, cat video, gives you a dopamine flood, and you wonder why you can't focus because you're trained to be distracted. Here's the thing I have with technology. when you pick it up out of habit, like not for purpose, but just out of habit, technology is a tool you're supposed to use.
Yep. It's
right?
using you.
Exactly.
Yep.
And when technology is using you, who becomes the tool, right?
So true, brother.
We become the tool.
Yeah.
And here's number one, you don't pick up your phone first thing, it trains you to be distracted. Number two, when you're in that pressureful state, is what you talk about. It trains you to be reactive.
Correct.
It trains you to be reactive. All of a sudden, you get one email, voicemail message, it ruins your day, and we've all had that.
Yep.
You're fighting fires and you're on the defense. And I always tell people when they come to me and they say, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I have a horrible memory. I always say, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them.
Boy,
if you fight for your limitations, you argue for your limits, they're yours, right?
Boy.
And here's the thing, your brain is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, you will not remember the name of the next person you meet because you programmed your supercomputer not to. They say the two most powerful words in the English language are also the smallest, I am. Because whatever you put after that, complete that sentence with, is going to determine your destination, your destiny.